we're going to set up a checkbook register. We're going to set up a checking account register. Some people call it checkbook register, some just call it a register. That's totally up to you. So I'm going to ask you, when I finish typing, when I ask you to pause it, you really do need to pause it. Again, when I ask you to pause it, you really do need to pause the video. Okay, so what I'm doing now is I'm just typing the titles across here. And when I finish, I'm going to ask you to pause the video and type yours as well. Pause it. And balance. Okay, so I'm going to make these bigger just so you can see what's going on real quick. And that's what they look like right now. So take a moment, pause the video, and type those titles. Pause the video and type those titles. Don't worry about spacing. We're going to fix all that in a minute. Alright, so now that you're back, we're going to do some formatting of some of these columns and rows. So I want you to select highlight A2. Again, I'm holding down Shift and I'm just using the arrow key down to go from A2 down to A30. So I selected A2 to A30. And what we're going to do is we're going to put some data validation in so we have a drop-down list to choose from. So we're going to put a data validation in so we have a drop-down list to choose from. Again, this is the type. So I'm going to go to Data, Data Validation, and Data, Data Validation. And where it says List from Range, we don't want that. We just want to list some items. So some of the things that could show up here in the type would be like the ATM. So I type ATM, comma space, DEP for deposits, cash, and salary. So again, we have ATM, comma space, DEP for deposits, cash, salary. We can always add more later, but for now that's good. So pause the video, get those into yours data, data validation, and then click the save button when you're done. And I'm so sorry, I just now realized I did not have you format the top row. So let's fix the top row. Select A1 through F1, and let's make it bold. And we need to go wider. So column A needs to be wider. How wide? Well, the longest thing in here is salary. So as long as salary shows up, we're wide enough. So I'm going to make it a little wider. As far as the date goes, we could have a date that's like December 24th, 2021. It needs to be wide enough to show that. So I'm just going to make it wider. Description, just go bigger so you can actually see description of transaction. It can always go bigger if you need to. Column D, payment, debit. We're just going to make it narrower. How narrow? Just so the words debit and the minus sign are on the next line. Sorry, forgot something. So I'm going to select and highlight D1 and E1. I'm going to click this button here that gives me more options, and I'm going to text wrapping. I'm wrapping the text. So now it shows up on 2 lines. So again, that was selecting both of them, and that was under text wrapping, and I'm wrapping the text. Sorry about that. Now I'm going to go back to column D and make it a little more narrow. And same thing with column E, just make it a little more narrow. And I'm going to make column F just a little wider. Pause the video and fix your columns. Alright, so column D, E, and F are going to do with money. So let's format this so it looks like money. So I'm selecting and highlighting D1 through F30. I'm going to click this button here that says numbers, and I'm going to choose number. Now look what happens. When I type 1,000, it automatically puts 2 numbers behind the decimal. If I had done that before, it wouldn't do that. But now it'll put 2 numbers behind the decimal, like money. And one more thing, go ahead and pause your video. So again, that was selecting D2 through F30, and you just went up here to format and a number. Format and a number. Alright, one last thing to format before we get on to the formulas. So this is a date. Let's fix it so everything in column B is a date. So I'm going to select, again, holding down the Shift, arrow down, from B2 through B30. I'm going to this little more formats button again, and this time I'm going down to date and choosing date. So now if I come over here and I type 2-1, it automatically puts the 2021 on for me. If I type March 15th, it automatically changes it to 2021 for me. It automatically will put the current year for you. Later on, if you want to have a different year, if you wanted 12, 24, 2020, it'll stay that way. But again, at least it's formatted to look like a date. So we're good with formatting. Now all we need to do is put our formula in. So pause, make sure you formatted this date, and then we're getting ready for the formula. Because this is my sample, I'm going to go ahead and remove this word salary here. Alright, so let's go to the balance. Let's say you have a balance of $100. Okay, look, I put the 2 decimals behind it because I typed that as a format earlier. Alright, so let's say you paid $40 for something. So I'm going to put that in the payment column, so a 40. And I want to know the balance. Now the catch is you are never going to know in advance if you are putting money into an account or taking money out of an account. So I could have been putting $40 into the account instead. That would have been over here. So we never know if it's going to be a deposit or credit, a negative or positive. So again, we don't know, so we need to make a formula that takes both of those situations into account. So let's say I actually deposited $40. My balance was $100. I deposited $40. I should now have $140. But we're not going to type the number. We're going to use a formula. So the formula would be equals 100 minus that number there. But here's the problem. I'm going to hit no for right now. What if it really wasn't $40 positive going into my account, it was actually $40 coming out of the account? The formula doesn't make sense. So we have to make a formula that takes things away if it shows up here and adds things to it if it shows up here. What? So again, now we're going to change the formula. It should actually, again, start with equals 100 minus, if it's in this column D, it's a minus. But if it's in column E, it's a plus. Okay, so if it's $40 negative, that's correct. But what if it was a $40 positive? That's correct. This formula works. So I'm going to just copy that formula on down. All the way down to row 30. Again, how did I copy it down? I grabbed that little blue box in the corner and I just copied it down. So again, what if the number was a 50 and a 30 and a 20 and a 25? Again, the formula keeps adjusting as it should. The formula keeps adjusting as it should. So you need to go put your formula into F3. Again, the formula in F3 will be equals, right here, F2 minus D3 plus E3, and I'll type it again. Again, the formula is equals F2 minus D3 plus E3. If you type that formula in F2, it should work. Put some sample numbers in like I did, copy it down. So for the first part of your assignment, notice I said first part of your assignment, I want you to start with a balance of 100, have a deposit of 50, a debit of 30, 20, and 25. Notice there's only one number per line. One transaction per line, one number per line. Things get correct. And just to make sure we did this correctly, let's use the date of 2/1/2021. And then turn that into Google Classroom. I will just check your formulas to make sure things are working correctly and turn it back to you. Actually, do me a favor, go to View, show formulas so I can see those formulas there. I don't even want to see the hundreds. I want to see the formula. As long as I can see the formula, I will turn it back to you, and then we'll move on to the second part of the assignment.